Weekday nights, the city roars. Tune in loud, turn up some more. Cincinnati show, it's time to play. Sports with strawberry ice today. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. CTV, the sports awaits. Strawberry ices on the mic, energy, it's pure delight. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Feel the crowd, it's electric now. Shouting loud, they all know how. The CTV got what we crave. Sports with ice, it's waves and waves. Tigers strike and Bengals roar. Every game we want some more. Tune it in and feel the thrill. Strawberry ice, he's giving chills. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. TTV, the sports awaits. Strawberry ice, he's on the mic, energy, it's pure delight.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the show. This is Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm your host, Iceman Jeff Trunapole, and as always, I bring you sports from a West Side point of view right here in the great city of Cincinnati, Ohio. And as always, I'm coming to you live from the Ice Cave, and the Ice Cave is brought to you by Priority Lawn and Landscaping. It's getting sunny out there. You want to cut your grass? Get Priority Lawn and Landscaping a shot. You got leaves out there in your flower beds you want gone. Get Priority Lawn and Landscaping a shot. You don't want to do your flower bed, plant flowers, you don't want to do shrubs, whatever. Get Priority Lawn and Landscaping a call. And please, please tell them that I sent you. Give them a call, 513-430-6114. That's 513-430-6114. You can also follow them on Facebook. What's up, guys? Welcome to the show. What's up to everybody in the chat? Who we got? You guys are already blowing the chat up. I don't know why. Is something going on today? I got Stranger in there, Brant in there, LeVar's in there, Matt's in there, Tony Blaze in, and Mike's in there. What's going on, guys? All right, so big news that just happened. The Bengals have given Trey Hendrickson permission to seek a trade. Now, my first thought is why? And this is why, if you ask my opinion. It's right here. Max Crosby, who's younger than Trey, has not had as good of the last 2 years as Trey, has agreed to a $106.5 million extension that includes $91.5 million guaranteed. Now, can the Bengals pay him that much money? Yes. Do they want to pay a 30-year-old that much money? I don't think so. You can call him cheap, which could be true. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying this, and I'm just putting numbers out here for you guys. All right, what they're going to save on a salary alone, with the money they already have under the salary cap, they're going to save $10.9 million. And added on to, I think they're $59 million, right? So you're like over $60 million in salary cap room now. And it's going to add $4.3 million to the dead cap money. Like I said, I'm not saying this is good, bad, indifferent, whatever. All I'm saying is this. If you're not going to sign Trey, then with all this money, one, you better get T done. And two, you better get into the free agency hot and heavy. Like, we better sign two top defensive guys, edge and interior, right off the bat, along with two guards. You're going to have plenty of money to do it. There's no reason not to. Now, you guys can get mad at Mike Brown. You can get mad at Duke Tobin, all you want. It's Katie and Troy. They're the ones that negotiate the contracts. That's who's doing the negotiation. That's who's made this decision. So, like I said, I'm not saying you get mad at whoever you want, but that's who's doing the negotiations here. Let's get into this already. Like I said, we're going to go talk a lot of draft, but I think I got the guys from Gridiron Grading, but we're going to talk some Trey Hendrickson here. Let's bring them in. Ryan, Andrew, what's going on, boys?
Jeff, good to see you again.
Yes. So, all right. What's your thoughts? I'll just put it out there. Trey Hendrickson is he's not traded yet. I mean, he might be trying to seek a Max Crosby deal. I'd be surprised if he got that for his age. But what do you guys thought? Andrew, you had some thoughts. I know you're chomping at the bit there before we started, so I'll let you go first.
Yeah, right off the bat, it's tough just because, I mean, granted, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. He might just be trying to test out his market. I think there's some tweets going around on that. But if the reality is that he is going to leave the Bengals, I think they're in a really bad spot. It's tough when you have a defensive line that doesn't have pass rushers right now. The recent picks don't look like pass rushers. They weren't pass rushers in college. It's really tough to replace. And so I think as a Bengals fan, foremost, it's disappointing to see so far. And from my perspective, even if it does eventually get done, just the aspect of him having to request the trade, it just gives vibes of last year again when they couldn't get done. So even if we see something get done, just from the forefront, it doesn't look great. I don't know, Ryan, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think the reality of the situation is a lot of us probably could have expected this. When you have 3 major contracts to negotiate in one offseason, unfortunately, someone, especially when you're dealing with the Bengals, is going to be an odd man out. So it's unfortunate that this has to be Trey Hendrickson, given how much he's produced in the pass rush over the past couple of years. And frankly, how he's been the only pass rusher on this team. But Jeff, you kind of put it perfectly. When you're competing against 2 20-something year-old wide receivers and you're a pass rusher going into your 30s, we still think he's an incredible player. He hasn't shown us or the league otherwise. But knowing how this front office operates, they saw that $30-something million number given to Max Crosby, and they probably let out some tears because they were coming in at what, 25, let's say, on a good day for Trey Hendrickson. So yeah, they're not willing to pony up anywhere near 10 million more, and
It's the
Trey
cash,
Hendrickson
Ryan.
deserves that.
91 million.
It's straight cash, homie. 91 million guaranteed.
I mean, we can talk about selling 49% of the team to a private equity firm, but that's something Andrew knows a lot about. I don't think the Blackburn family loves that idea, or the Brown family, but we're all for it. You got to get cash somehow, and there's only one stadium naming right, so you can't do that all over again.
Right. I mean, look, I think they play. People are like, oh, they said they're gonna sign him, which I think they were planning on signing him. This Max Crosby deal just came out of left field because, in my opinion, the Raiders well overpaid for Max Crosby. I mean, they just did a Deshaun Watson contract. They blew it out the waters because they fully guaranteed Deshaun Watson. They guaranteed $91 million to Max. I don't think Max even thought he was going to get that much money. Why? And then they turned around and gave $11 million to Kappa, who was our former guard. So I'm like, I think they overpaid for him too. So I'm not sure what the hell the Raiders are doing. They're just paying, in my opinion, they're just spending stupid money, but it affects the Bengals. And I don't think they're willing to go there. Now, this is what I always say. I'm like, let's just wait. Trust me, I know people are pissed off, and you can be pissed off. You have every right to be pissed off. I'm not saying don't. I'm just saying let's wait and see what they do next week, because this has got to go quick. It's kind of like what James Rapine was just saying this on his live stream that he had on there, where free agency starts next week. You got hopefully it's asking a lot, but get 2 things done here really quick. Get Trey traded, get T signed, and that way, all right, you know what you got. You got Jamar's. You basically know what Jamar's going to be anyway. But for the salary cap, that gives you a ton of money, and then go all in on defensive guys. You got to get top-notch guys. We can't let Trey Hendrickson go and not get anybody. And now look, I like Joey Bosa, but I'm gonna be pissed if Joey Bosa is the only one they bring in there. That's gonna be awful.
Yeah, it's tough. The replacements, it's a good draft class for sure. It's a good draft class, so you'd be banking on that. But either way, losing somebody who is Trey Hendrickson is winning 30+% of his pass rushes, they don't have anybody that comes close to that. So as you think about how you replace a Trey Hendrickson, it's going to require hitting on 2 draft picks, hitting home runs on guys who know and can rush the passer, which we just put out a tweet. Their history in the last 3 years has shown that they haven't been able to find pass rushers in the draft. So there's that. Then you're going to have to nail 2 free agent signings. Again, guys that can rush the passer. So by
not recently.
multiple holes. So that's my perspective. I just think that overall, the cost of replacing him is going to be much more taxing than what it would cost just to make that deal and get it done. Especially when we know, and we've talked about this, there's not other guys to pay over there. They're not paying anybody right now.
Well, that's the thing too. It's like we already had a ton of holes to fix on the defense. The one thing that actually worked, we're going to let him go. Now they're revamping everything because I thought they were going to re-sign BJ Hill. I don't think they're going to now. I think they're turning this thing totally over to Al Golden until Al Golden could put his thumbprint on. And trust me, I'm not saying Al Golden does not want Trey Hendrickson. I'm sure Al Golden wants Trey Hendrickson, and he has no say-so in this whatsoever. But I do think they're going to turn over that defensive line, which means I think they have to go heavy in free agency now. And they, like you said, they have to hit it in the draft. That the last defensive lineman they drafted is Miles Murphy, and he hasn't worked out. I mean, I'm still holding out hope, but we're going into year 3, and that's not somebody to hang your hat on. So defensively, this draft is huge. This put more pressure on them to hit the draft right, I think.
Yeah, and I think when we were on with you last time, Jeff, we spoke about how you never want to head into the draft having to take a player to fill a specific need. And like Andrew mentioned a minute ago, this isn't a situation where the Bengals don't have the money to spend on their best players or even to fill out the back end of their roster. Right now, they have the 9th most available cap space in the league. And again, we can talk about manipulating that with cash and how those deals kind of work, but they could have gotten these deals done. They can still go out and get other free agents, and they can still go out and attack the draft. But the problem is, if you're already committed to either trading Trey or not committing to him long term, and you're not really evaluating properly the options that are out there in free agency, we never want to force a pick. And thank God it's a great year for interior defensive linemen and edge players. But when we came on last time, we said, we don't really know who they might take. There are plenty of options, but not to put a number on it, you're looking at more than 50% that this first pick at number 17 has to be a defensive lineman, whether we as fans like it or not.
I mean, I was going into free agency next week going, all right, I'm hoping we get 2 guards. And then if we get a defensive guy, like an edge or something, that'd be cool. I was like, all right, maybe we'll get Bosa, and then we can add the real guys in the draft. Now that changes everything. This free agency, this puts so much pressure on the free agents this year or next week. They need 2 guards. They need at least 1 guard, hopefully 2. And like I said, they got to go out and get not Bosa, like big name guys, like Sweat. Who's the other one that you were saying off the air, Ryan?
Milton Williams. Yeah, if you want to kind of go interior and on the edge.
And that's what, if they can get both of them. I mean, I have no idea what any of those guys are going to command, but I mean, that's what they need to try and do if you're going to trade Trey Hendrickson. So, and this is the Bengals' fault. I mean, and I'm as big optimist as there is, but it's their fault. If they would have signed T and Jamar last year, or signed Jamar last year, signed T 2 years ago, this wouldn't have been an issue. They had already been signed, and you could concentrate on signing Trey. So this is the boat they put themselves in all by themselves. They cost themselves more money with T. They cost themselves more money with Jamar, and they're going to lose Trey because of it. And it sucks, but you just hope that they can get it right. As optimistic as I am, getting everything right is huge because I've said this before. This is the biggest offseason in the Bengals history, I think, and they just put more pressure on themselves.
Yeah, going back to the draft, when you don't draft well, you put immense immediate pressure if you're trying to be in a win now window. And Jeff, I think to your point, the toughest part entering free agency is you don't even know if the big names on your own roster are going to be there. So how do you fill out around it? That's, to me, what stands out about Trey Hendrickson, Tee Higgins, even though he's on the tag, you don't know what that's going to look like going into camp because he wants a contract. So what do you have going into free agency? Because that makes it really tough. If you don't have an edge one, if Hendrickson's not going to be there, like you said, you want to be at the top of that edge market, and you're going to miss out if you have to wait.
Yeah.
And so that's where I think it gets kind of difficult there. And, we're obviously huge draft guys, love the draft. It is very hard to replace elite all-pro NFL production with rookies. So that's where it gets worrisome. And we can hope all we want on some of the recent defensive line picks. I think Ryan and I have fairly strong opinions on this, that we're not going to get the pass rush production from those recent picks just because it was never there. They haven't shown it. And so without Hendrickson, I think they're going to have to be at the top of this free agent market, and then they're going to have to do really well drafting. They're going to have to look at some of these pass rushing production metrics when they make these picks.
And the thing is, too, what, in your guys' opinion, what do you think we can get for Trey? I mean, he did lead the NFL in sacks. He's had 17 and 17 and a half back-to-back years. But he is going into his year 30, and that's not just a mythical number. That's throughout the NFL. Everybody's like, hey, you hit that 30 mark, and you might hit a brick wall, or you hit the other side of the mountain, start going downhill. Trey has shown no signs of that. Honestly, Joe Thuney just went, and I know he's older, but he just went to the Bears for a 6th-round pick. And I know that's completely different because the Chiefs are up against the cap. But Trey Hendrickson, we got to at least get a 2nd for him, at least, don't you think?
Yeah. So I saw a report earlier today saying that one of the teams interested in Trey Hendrickson is the Washington Commanders. And I think that's the ceiling in terms of value, where they currently hold the 29th overall pick. And if there's a team that's looking to sort of eke out the last year of a relatively team-friendly deal for Trey Hendrickson and kind of make that push for a Super Bowl, that's where you're hoping, and that's where your wishful thinking begins. But like you said, Jeff, given his age and given the contract that some other team will have to give him at the end of this season, I think you're lucky if you're getting an early 2nd-round pick, maybe something in the mid-2nd round, with hopefully something either later in the 2025 draft or something from the 2026 draft. But the situation that the Bengals are facing is going to be a similar situation another team has to face. And that mystery team is going to have to ask themselves whether or not they want to pay a 1st-round pick. And I wouldn't be surprised if there are teams that don't want to do that. So like you said, we're kind of hoping for a 2nd, and anything above that or in addition to is great.
And the thing is, let's just throw this out there. Say that Trey is asking. Let's say the Bengals offered him 30. Let's say that's what they offered him, and he wants 35. And that's where he wants. Would he? And he goes out there and he finds that. Would he be willing to leave for 35 or 33 million more than what the Bengals are? He says he likes it here and all that stuff. Is that worth it to him? That's the thing he's got to find, because you never know. They gave him permission. He might go out there and might not find anything that he actually likes. I mean, I don't think so. I think somebody's gonna pay him, but there is a chance that could happen. And then the other thing to this is you don't want to trade him to anybody in the AFC. I want to give him the NFC. So Detroit, I'm calling them up. Tampa, I'm calling them up. Commanders, I'm calling them up. Hey, what do you guys want for this? And the Commanders should be a good one. I know Detroit's, because they've been linked to Myles Garrett, trying to get him. They can have Trey Hendrickson and who's the other kid from Michigan that they got hurt that they drafted?
Eden Hutchinson.
Eden Hutchinson. I mean, that'd be a good bookend for them.
There's quite the theme here, Jeff. You're naming Super Bowl contenders who are trying to find a pass rush.
Right, I know.
Stinks when you're a Bengals fan and you're like, we want to get to the Super Bowl too.
Yeah, so we want to add them, not give them away. That's what,
right. It makes it so tough. That's what I'm thinking as I listen to you name those teams. It's just Super Bowl contenders who watch the Eagles do what they did to the Chiefs with a pass rush.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, we lost Sam Hubbard yesterday, and just going back to that AFC Championship game that we beat them because of that front four and that secondary. We only rushed 4 guys. I mean, Sam Hubbard made one of the greatest plays in Bengals history. I know everybody remembers the fumble in the jungle. I remember that one. But the one where he sacked Mahomes and made him fumble, they recovered the ball. But that was a great play right there. Now Sam's gone. It looks like Trey's going to be gone. It's just like, who do we have? I mean, and Pratt's probably going to be gone. So, you can say what you want about our linebacker guard. He's going to be gone. Zach Moss could be gone. I mean, they're literally going to have to fix everything on this defense.
Yeah, I think on the positive side of that is, though, we're losing the nostalgia for sure. I think right there with you, those were the best years of Bengals fandom in my lifetime, at least. Mm-hmm. On the bright side, though, a lot of the guys you named outside of Trey Hendrickson were certainly on the decline. So from that side, it's positive. And Sam Hubbard, I don't think you could think of a better Bengal. But towards the end of his career, I think awesome for him that he was able to retire before he had to leave or it got even worse. But there's a lot of potential there, I think, to fill that room out with some guys who can contribute a little bit more. So that part's exciting. I would just like to have their best defensive player there when they do that rebuild. So I think it is exciting. It's a big off season, and you would have loved to see it get off to a more positive start. But I think there's still hope here. Which
there's
at some point have to see the actions.
Yeah. Well, everybody always gets on me because I'm too positive. I'm like, and that's where I'm like, I'm just trying to wait till the other shoe drops. Let's see what they do, because I can't believe they aren't going to trade Trey Hendrickson and not go into free agency heavily. You have to, right, guys? I mean, you can't just go fix all this in the draft. The draft's deep, but it's not that deep. You don't have to make picks. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, you would think they're going to attack free agency, and we all know about that like Cinderella free agency class that they had that really sort of spurred that Super Bowl run. But other than those few moves, they really haven't done anything super inspiring in free agency or the draft recently, outside of what Andrew and I would think are those surefire picks like Joe Burrow at 1, Jamar Chase at 5. So we try to stay hopeful at Gridiron Grading, and we've definitely got a lot of flack for being negative. We like to think it's a bit more of a realistic approach than it is negative.
Right.
But yeah, we're at the point of the offseason where it's obviously frustrating that the team still continues to show that they're not committed to winning like the other Super Bowl contenders you named earlier are. But we have to stay positive, because if we don't have that, we've sort of lost it all.
Yeah, I mean, all this comes back to what you just said, the not drafting well. I mean, that's what all this is coming up to a head right now, where we didn't sign we didn't sign the guys early enough, we didn't draft good enough, and we've we haven't made the playoffs the last 2 years, and all this is coming to a head now. It's like it's going to go one of two ways, guys. It's either going to completely blow up in our face, or they're going to turn us around. I mean, it's either put up or shut up time for the Blackbirds. They don't want to pay him. Well, you got to pay somebody, and that's the thing. It's like you can't. You know what's going to happen if you run it back like you had last year. They know they got to fix this. That's why to me it's so surprising that they're not willing to sign Trey, because they have the money, because they don't have anybody else. That's the part that I'm like, do you really know what you're doing? You think because you have no track record of it here lately of signing the right free agents, drafting the right guys. They've done it before, but it's been a while. That's what worries me as a Bengals fan.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think one thing that stands out there too is the amount of pressure now that they would have if Trey Hendrickson ends up not getting a contract from the Bengals, the amount of pressure they have to sign Tee Higgins with what they've put out there. If you're not paying Trey Hendrickson, where's that money going? Well, Tee Higgins needs to be signed then long term. So I think that's one interesting lens to view this through, but agree. There's a lot of pressure, I think, at this point. And, I wouldn't say we were old enough at that time to recognize what was going on with Carson Palmer back in the day, but really hoping that we don't see kind of a 2.0 version here where nothing goes right outside of hitting that franchise quarterback.
Right. And the thing is, like, I keep thinking of something I was going to say when you're talking. I can't remember what it is now. I hate when I do that. But the thing is, yeah, I'm like, I got a really good point. That's why I write stuff down. Well, I didn't write that one down. So if they can get a second, I know what it is. All right, so let's say Trey Hendrickson does get traded. Let's hopefully they get a second round pick. Let's go into the draft here. All right, if you go on to me, you're going if you're losing Trey, your first 3 picks have got to be defense. So if you're going, let's go with the Commanders pick there. If they make the trade with the Commanders for their second round pick, who would be there? They have 17, 49, and then whatever the Commanders are that they could get. That you guys think?
So if we're talking, go ahead, Ryan.
Oh, I was just going to say the first name that pops up to my mind later in that first round at a pick 29, let's say, would be the edge out of Boston College. And I always butcher his name, but I think it's Donovan Ezeruaku. Yeah. He's someone that performed incredibly well at the combine. In his college production profile, shown that he's strong at rushing the passer. I also personally like him because he's stout against the run compared to someone that is truly just a designated pass rusher, let's say. But that was the first name that immediately popped in my mind, where if you're looking to target 2 edge defenders in the first round, or at a minimum 2 players along the defensive line in the first round, something like Walter Nolan and Azuraku, or however you pronounce that, would be somewhere I could go. But yeah,
Right.
Andrew, you go ahead.
Just Donovan E, Ryan. That could help.
Donovan E.
There you
I
go.
think, yeah, from the edge perspective, I think that makes sense. I know we talked about James Pierce last time around. It sounds like there might be some potential character concerns there. Again, as from the outside looking in, we don't know what that looks like. So you could see the Bengals being moved off of that line a little bit. I think he's one name that stands out. You get into, say, pick 49, or they're able to secure a pick through a trade, say in the early first or in the mid 40s to 50s in the second. You could look at somebody like Deion Walker, who's a guy we're going to pound the table for right down the street from Kentucky, one of the best pass rushers in this class from the interior defensive line side. So you could use that pick to bolster the interior a little bit more. Then if we get into late day two, I think another name who's flying under the radar here, and we've kind of heard from some of the new coaching staff that's coming in that they're going to be willing to potentially break the mold on some of these undersized guys who can rush the passer. And there are tons of them in this class. And one of our favorites is David Walker from Central Arkansas, small school guy, but he is about as stout as you can get against the run. I think we talked about him again last time. James Harris and Elmas Dumerville type of vibe. So that would be another fun pick. I think the reality is here is there's going to be a ton of options at all of their picks, and if they're able to get another one in the day 1, day 2 range, the key is going to be, are they taking guys that can rush the passer? And we're going to be pounding the table on this for the next few months. We've seen with all of the recent defensive line picks that have gone south, the one thing they lacked was an ability to rush the passer in college, and they didn't magically find it in the NFL. So should be a huge premium put on that if they're going to the draft needing to fix needs on that defensive line.
And one thing here, real quick, on the link you sent me, Ryan, for the edge free agency, Josh Sweat is 28. So if they're willing to pay him more money, I think they'd be willing to pay him more money because he's 28. He's under that 30 threshold. That's honestly when we're talking about when they hit on the free agents that they did sign. All of them were right in their prime. They didn't sign anybody over 30. That was kind of one of their things they stuck with. So I don't know if he's on the table or not. I'm hoping he is. If you're not going to sign, sign Trey or keep Trey. But Augie, thanks for the $5 super chat. Appreciate it. You usually positive like you, Ice. I'm just so mad because the front office shows no willingness to right their wrongs over the last 2 years. Cover your ass, wake up. And that's what all this comes down to, honestly, is where they've royally screwed up. I mean, hindsight, they should have paid Jesse Bates. They could have paid him. And they could have paid Orlando Brown. They could have had both of them that offseason. Because and I've said this before, they drafted Dax Hill to replace Jesse Bates. It did not work. They did not expect to lose Von Bell that year. That's why they hurried up and went out and signed Nick Scott. That didn't work. Last year, they let DJ Reader walk out the building, and they replaced him with Sheldon Rankins. That didn't work. I'm praying to God that they have got to have a plan A, B, C, D, that are good players. Not, oh shit, we let this guy go. Let's go sign that guy. And that's kind of what it's felt like the last couple of years, except for Orlando Brown, I do think. But Orlando Brown also, he didn't get as much money as he thought he was going to get, to be honest. They paid him, but I think Orlando Brown thought he was going to get more money, and he didn't. So that to me is how big this is. And they've to add more draft picks and other thing. All right, guys, how about this? Get back to the draft here. All right, so they trade Trey and they get a second round pick. To me, there's a bigger thing that they will trade back out of 17 to add more picks, just because this has gotten so much bigger to me now that you don't have the one steady. You're not going to have the one steady guy. You got to have more swings at the bat, so to speak, to try to get this right. And it seems like a Bengals thing to do because they haven't done so well in the draft to trade back, add more picks, get a pick for Trey, and you go from 6 picks to, 8 or 9 picks. What's your thoughts on that? You think that's a bigger thing that they might trade back now?
Yeah, I think Andrew and I have spoken about this before, but the Bengals roster isn't 6 rookies away from competing for a Super Bowl, regardless of what happens in free agency, regardless of what happens with Tee Higgins and Trey Hendrickson. And if there's ever a draft to consider a trade back to accumulate more throws at the dartboard, this would be one to do that in. And I know this is somewhat related, but a lot of the fan base has advocated for moving on from Geno Stone and Jermaine Pratt and Zach Moss. And I'm all for moves like that too, to free up extra cap space. But people sometimes forget that when you move on from those players, while you can find someone who's better, those are still holes, at least for the time being, on your roster. So if you go into the draft needing an edge one, needing a safety, needing a linebacker, needing a second running back, but only having 6 picks, it's unfortunately impossible to fill all of those spots on the roster. And the big thing that Andrew and I speak about too is that you need the draft to help fill out the back end of your roster. But if you look at recent picks like Charlie Jones or some of the defensive interior, those are guys that maybe the team thought could contribute, but just haven't been able to live up to those expectations in the NFL. So you might be thinking about replacing those guys soon too. And if it's not going to be through free agency, you're going to need another year of 9 or 10 draft picks. But even with that, we saw how poorly that played out last year. So that's a long way of saying there's no perfect answer. We're all for trading back and accumulating more draft picks, but then it's just a matter of actually hitting on those draft picks and hoping these guys can produce at a higher level of football.
Ken here says, plan better be signed Milton Williams and Josh Sweat. They won't, because that's how Mike Brown and the company operates. Well, again, now this, and I'm taking this from James Rapine, who covers the Bengals. He said this is a Katie Blackburn and Troy Blackburn decision. It says that Mike Brown, they're the ones that are negotiating the contracts. So, not that I'm defending Mike Brown, but if you want to focus your anger on somebody, it's them. They're the ones that are in charge of the contracts. Now, the thing is too is he's not traded yet. I mean, Trey might think he can get more money, and like I said, he might get, is it worth $3 million to $5 million more to leave to go somewhere else? If it's that big, if it's that little of a difference. Now, if somebody's going to offer him what Max Crosby is, I'm like, Godspeed. Go ahead. I love Trey. I don't think Max Crosby's worth that much money, to be honest. I mean, he's good, but he's the highest non-paid quarterback. I mean, that's what Jamar Chase was supposed to be. Is going to be. That's not what defensive linemen get. That's just where, to me, that's an outlier contract, I think. And when Trey Hendrickson and his agents saw that, they're like, well, I got more sacks than he does. Why can't I get that? So the Bengals might be like, all right, you want to go see if you can get it? Go see. And if he can get it, cool. If you can't, you come back to us, which I'm just putting it out there. That might be what it is. Who knows? Because he's not gone yet, but it's got to happen quick, I think, if it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think he might find that out there if he's looking to see what he could get paid on the market. The Max Crosby deal, it was like 3 years, 107. They had the massive guarantee number. And this is just kind of conjecture here, but my guess would be that the cash number is the issue here, and that other teams would be willing to find that and guarantee it up front. If I'm, like you mentioned, Jeff, the Lions, the Commanders, teams that are willing to throw money around, know they need pass rushers, are dead set on winning a Super Bowl, and they might think they're one big name defensive player away. Yeah, I would not be surprised if he finds that on the open market. I would, specifically as a pass rusher, last year, Max Crosby took kind of a down year. We don't know if that'll hold, but Trey Hendrickson, I mean, he's one of the top 3 pass rushing edges in the NFL, showing no signs of slowing down. I don't know. I think he might be worth $33, $35 million a year.
That's just an awful lot for an edge. Good, Ryan.
It's definitely a lot of money, but I think, Jeff, the answer to your question about is it 35 versus 30, where does he go, is something Andrew touched on. It's just a question of that cash and that guaranteed money. If you're getting $35 million annually, let's say, if about 25 to 30 of that is guaranteed each and every year, that's a lot different than getting about 10 guaranteed and playing and hoping you don't get injured or you produce at the same level. And all of these athletes are great and they're creating generational wealth. And we can sit here in our homes and say, oh gosh, I wish I was making $10 million just by signing on a dotted line. But
Yeah, I'll never. Look, NFL players, you go get as much money as you can. I've said that from
Exactly,
the beginning. I mean,
100%.
I will never. And all these people say, "Oh, you want to take less money to stay here?" Look, I would love that, but it's not your money and it's not your life. This is generational wealth that you. It's like hitting the lottery. I mean, you got to get. I mean, Sam Hubbard was only played for 7 years. I mean, most guys play less than 10 years, so you need to get your money when you can. So I totally understand why Trey is trying to get as much money as he can. And the other thing is too, you're talking about. Andrew, you're talking about cash. Well, you got to get cash for T and Jamar. So you got 3 guys that you're trying to give cash to. Again, the Bengals did it to themselves because they could have signed them, Trey 2 years, or excuse me, T 2 years ago, and it would have been cheaper. And they could have signed Jamar last year, and it would have been cheaper, and they didn't do it. So that's where they put themselves in this.
Yeah, I don't envy where they're at today, trying to sign 3 star. We can argue 3 of the top 25 non-QBs in the NFL, trying to find the signing bonus money to pay all of them. I don't envy that. You need somebody to provide you an influx of cash to make that happen. So I don't envy where they're at right now, but like you said, I think this could have been addressed if they got ahead of it a few years ago.
We've all said that. Now, all right, so YouTuber user, I don't know. That's all it says here. Kappa got signed in less than 24 hours. Trey's going to get his bag. Were you guys surprised that Kappa got $11 million? I was kind of shocked by that and how fast he got picked up.
Yeah, I was personally surprised by it just with how poorly he played this past season relative to years before. And I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because, again, when they signed him, he was a much better player. He hadn't suffered that injury yet. So there's a lot of context to that. But I think it goes back to something you mentioned before, Jeff, where the Bengals are a team that has money and at least somewhat of an adequate roster to spend it on, whereas the Raiders are a team that has a ton of money and absolutely no one to spend it on, other than giving Max Crosby, I think, $70 million or so, maybe $90 million guaranteed up front, and then players like Alex Kappa. So if they want to, I guess, have Kappa come in and compete, or even maybe raise the floor of that offensive line, which sounds crazy to say given the player in question, to them, a contract of $11 million at this point is peanuts, and it's just about getting bodies in the door.
Yeah.
Well, there's a few things there, too. Like I see in the chat, somebody just mentioned Brady has a minority stake now in the Raiders. Kappa was there as a part of his great runs. I believe there's a new member of the front office with the Raiders that knows Kappa as well. Plus, you have to add on the fact that this is a pretty bad free agent market for guards. Also, the draft is pretty bad and low in talent for guards that can come in right away. And so if you're a team sitting out there like the Bengals who needs to find starters at guard, I think there's going to be a rush right away to get those guys in the building, because I think it'll clear out pretty quickly in free agency. And then in the draft, I think there's probably 5 to 6 names on the guard side that we could see coming in right away. And outside of that, you're looking at tackles who are going to have to move inside. And that's always up for debate what that could look like. So I don't, it seems kind of crazy because people were talking about potential retirement, but also I kind of understand it a little bit for the Raiders.
Yeah. And that's hopefully, because I know the legal tampering period starts here in a couple of days, but they started talking. Everybody knows they started talking to them at the combine. That's when it all happened. So hopefully the Bengals have already got something knocked out, but it doesn't count until they put pen to paper. And there's only 2 or 3 guards out there that are really worth signing. And I keep saying, I hope they get 2 of them, at least 1. They got to at least get 1. I mean, because worst case, they sign 1 and you can bring Cody Ford back, which isn't ideal. And you can draft 1. Isn't ideal, but and you can have Cody Ford and whoever you draft and not Carmen, Volson fight out for it, which is, again, it's not ideal, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's the route that they end up going, just because of the way the free agent market is.
Yeah, I would love to see them break some of their trends and bring in one of these older guards, whether it's Kevin Zeitler, who's willing to come back. I don't know if he is. There's a chance he has no interest in that. Or Brandon Scherf, who is my personal favorite free agent target for the Bengals. He is the best guard on the free agency market in terms of pass blocking and true pass sets. And we've talked about that a little bit, but that's what the Bengals do. I would love to have him in the building, and maybe they can also bring in one of the younger guys as well. Throw a draft pick in. I think you got a pretty good room there.
Good, Ryan.
Yeah, I think if Volson is your first or second interior offensive lineman off the bench, that's a great situation to be in for this team relative to last year. He hasn't been great, but as a former fourth round pick out of a smaller school, relatively speaking, if he's someone with his 4 years of experience that can come in a pinch if someone gets hurt, that's the kind of player he should be. And I think that's a great role for him. So, like Andrew said, if the team is willing to roll the dice on an older offensive lineman, maybe two, and then take a swing in the draft, that really helps elevate the floor. It might not take the ceiling way out of the roof, but at the very least, you're giving your quarterback something that he can trust and feel a lot more comfortable in than the couple of times when Kappa and Volson were putting up 0 pass blocking grades and a half. So hopefully we don't see too many more of those this upcoming season.
Yeah, I've kind of been, let's keep Volson for depth. And I mean, if you got more players, then you can always cut him, when the training camp comes around. And they did sign Kirkland. What's you guys' thoughts on Kirkland? I mean, he's just a depth piece. I don't see him really competing for the job.
Yeah, he's got good flexibility, played tackle in college, and then during training camps, the preseason, and in his limited experience, they've been playing him on the interior as well. Comes from Washington, so he has some experience at high-level situations. Again, I think he's a good depth player, but he's also coming back from a significant injury. So glad to see him be on the team as that depth offensive lineman. But if they're relying on him for significant snaps, either on the outside or in the interior, then something's really gone wrong this upcoming season.
I like Andrew shaking his head.
Yeah, I mean, like Ryan said, depth piece. I hope they can't be relying on that. I mean, throw him in a battle with 3 other guys if you want, but that's
yeah.
We don't want that. That can't be the option that's in front of Joe Burrow.
let's hope to God not. They got to fix it right. And the thing is, like, people, I think Ryan, you said people got on Kappa this year, and they're like, oh, he was a bust. Like, actually, he was really good his first year and a half here until he got hurt, and that's what stunk when we went to the second AFC Championship game. Kappa was hurt. Who else was? Well, our left tackle hurt, right tackle hurt. So Jonah Williams, I think, we had 2. I can't remember. We had
O-line was a mess.
Yeah, like we went and spent us money in free agency, and it was hurt by the time we got to the AFC Championship game. So we're back in the almost the same thing, and that's where I go to. I want you got to have depth there. This is my problem with what they did last year, is they didn't have enough depth at that position to what the what ifs, because you're playing 18 games now. You got guys are going to get hurt. So the depth is even more important now than it was before. And so they've been playing 19 games. They're going to have like 1 preseason game probably here. So I mean that's where they got to do better at that as well. They got to do better at a lot of stuff, but they got to get the guards and they got to get the depth. What's you guys' thoughts on Cody Ford? I mean, I'm like I said, I want him back definitely for a depth piece. I would be okay if he wins the job. That's not ideal, but what's your guys' thoughts on it?
I think they're in a bad spot if he wins a job as the starting 5 next year. He's fine, I think, as like a vet leader, having him as O-line 8 or 9, I think, in a good room. But he is not a good pass blocker. I think, admirable that he was able to go out, play tackle, play guard. But from an actual on-field production perspective, I think they can do so much better in protecting Joe Burrow. So it would be a bit disappointing if the goal was to bring him in and slot him in as a starter. So having him, bring him back at the end of free agency on a 1-year deal if he's still out there, but I don't think they can slot him into a starting role.
All right. YouTube user here says, do you guys think any free agent will be rushing to come play here, even with Burrow? I do. I mean, I don't know. What's your guys' thoughts?
I think there's some people out there that if maybe the guaranteed money isn't the sticking point for them, they're not going to pass up the opportunity to play with arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now. So I think there are some people that still recognize that this team, despite the difficulties that it had last year, still put up 9 wins, still was competing, had that great win streak towards the end of the season, and is able to overcome a lot of those challenges by virtue of having a quarterback like Joe Burrow on your roster. maybe it's not going to be that top end of the free agent market like we're all hoping for. But if they want to take on some reclamation projects, be it from a production or an injury standpoint, like a Malcolm Kuntz, for example, or another wide receiver to be that wide receiver 3 or 4 role, yeah, absolutely. I think there's going to be a lot of people that still view Cincinnati as a good free agency destination until that Burrow contract comes to an end.
Now we got 613 people watching the show now. Appreciate all of you guys. Make sure you're hitting the subscription button and check these guys out too. Go ahead and tell everybody where they can find your guys' workout too.
Yeah, we're at Gridiron Grading. Primarily draft content going on over there, but we are Bengals fans, so you will see some of that as well. But going to be publishing our board here probably in the next few weeks. I know Ryan and I are in the weeds right now waiting to get some final athletic testing, but yeah, we do this every year. This year we're going to have 700 to 800 prospects fully graded. Production is our thing in particular, so you'll see a lot of content out there around some of the analytics we use that we've seen are predictive for NFL success, trying to just get the information out there to, make the fan base a little bit more into the draft, get an idea of what's going on, maybe why some of these picks have gone south recently. But we'll be over at Gridiron Grading continuing to put things out through draft season, and then we'll be there through the NFL season as well to see how those picks pan out.
Now, with that being said, I kind of asked this before, but just go with the 6 picks. If they do trade Trey, do you think that changes their philosophy on or their strategy on how they're going to draft now? If you don't have Trey Hendrickson and you basically don't have much of anything at all on the defensive line other than the 2 rookies you drafted last year, do you think this is – I thought it was going to be defense heavy already. It might be almost all defense. What's your guys' thoughts on how their strategy changes if they trade Trey Hendrickson?
I personally don't think it changes the strategy that much because we knew that the team severely lacked pass rush going into this offseason, and we were somewhat penciling in, whether it was an edge defender or an interior player, some type of defensive lineman at that 17th and that 49th overall pick. So it just emphasizes that need even more, that you're desperately looking for some kind of pass rush help. Maybe that means they take a 3rd defensive lineman with that last pick in the 6th round, I think they have. But frankly, I don't think it changes the overall plan that much because defensive line was such a big need, and it's just an even bigger need if you don't have Trey Hendrickson going into the next season.
I actually disagree, Ryan. I actually think it does change that process. I think if you trade Trey, edge might become that priority number 1 instead of being open to maybe the best interior defensive lineman or edge that falls there. So I think while I agree with you, Ryan, that the pass rush will be the priority, I think it could change positional need. I think last year we saw it with Amarius Mims, and lucky they made an awesome pick there, but they had pigeonholed themselves into taking a tackle only. They missed in free agency, and so they knew they needed that. I could see that happening again if we see a Trey trade later and they miss on the first wave of free agency. I could certainly see a route where you're looking at edge pigeonholed again into that pick this year.
Well, let's just let's do this scenario. Because I keep saying if they're going to trade Trey, you need to do it now. You need to do it this weekend before free agency. Let's just say for some reason they don't, which would be even dumber, I think, because you don't know if they go to free agency and they don't have Jamar, T, or Trey signed, that's going to be hard to navigate your money. I know they got a lot of it, but you don't know what's going to be allocated to Jamar, T. I know T's 26 for sure, but if you're doing an extension, that changes that, and the hit on the salary cap, and then you got Trey sitting out there too. So, are you guys with me? Do you think that this gets resolved? I mean, to me, this weekend they got to get Trey resolved and they got to get T resolved to just make it more open to what they could do in free agency.
Yeah, I think the team knew that they were going to have to negotiate these deals as soon as the season ended, and for some of these guys, especially Tee Higgins, they knew all throughout the last NFL season that on that franchise tag it was a 1-year deal. So I think they've known in the back and the front of their minds that these were contracts they were going to negotiate. And the fact that it's taken this long and we're coming this close to the free agency period, I know a lot of the reporting out of the Bengals building has been positive that they're working towards these deals. All the sides seem to be coming together harmoniously and they're going to hash something out. But that seems to forget the fact that they've had months to come to the table now and chat it through. So in the grand scheme of things, I think that all these players think a week's not going to make a difference when they sign on that dotted line, and it's not going to change how much money they make either from the Bengals or from another team. So I think they're all kind of sitting pretty, waiting for the team to come to them in this game of cat and mouse to see who's going to give in first. And
be proactive, damn it! Don't wait.
Absolutely no.
Like,
we want them to be proactive,
Yeah.
but I think the reality of the situation is the Bengals have absolutely no leverage in any of these negotiations.
No.
And these are elite players that can go and find their money elsewhere. They can sign with Super Bowl contenders. So they could have got these deals done months ago. The extra week isn't going to change anything, unfortunately.
All right, now this is interesting. I didn't think of this because this doesn't usually happen. But Augie says if we trade Trey, this needs to bring back good talent, not draft picks. Which, I just talk about the Commanders or the Lions or somebody like that. Like, I don't think those teams would be willing to trade a talented player from their team to get one. I think I just can't see somebody giving up a player because Trey's going to go to a team where we just need a pass rusher to get us over the hump. That's what this is. I'd have a hard time seeing them getting an impact player. I mean, I agree that'd be great, but what's your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that's the reason we don't see a lot of player-for-player trades in the NFL. If you're a team trading for Trey Hendrickson, right, he's a little on the older side. He's really good right now. You don't know what that'll look like in 2 years. So if I were one of those teams, I'd be really hard-pressed to trade one of my talented players in exchange for another one. Like you said, Jeff, you're trying to win a Super Bowl. You don't want to take from your roster to bring him in as well. They're looking to leverage something from the future to support their winning right now. So I'd be really hard-pressed to see that happening. I think you're looking at maybe a draft pick this year, more likely a draft pick next year. If you're giving up Trey, maybe something a little bit smaller this year. But yeah, I wouldn't expect a player back in return, at least not one that's going to be highly sought after, able to make an impact anywhere near Hendrickson's.
And maybe the Raiders are so desperate they'll give us their first round pick for him. They keep wanting impact players, and they I don't know. I wanted the Bengals to get Max Crosby last year, having traded him on the same team. By hell, maybe go to the Raiders and have their top pick. I don't see that happening. But go ahead, Ryan. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think Andrew pretty much said everything I was going to say. I don't have the data since 2022, but from 1994 to 2022, there were only 90 player-for-player trades. I know in a vacuum, 90 sounds like a lot, but a lot of those trades also didn't involve the level of talent that we see here with the Trey Hendrickson. So unless there's a team out there like the Eagles, for example, that have so much depth that maybe they'll be kind enough to trade us their 8th best defensive lineman, who on the Bengals would be probably the second or third, if not first, number one defensive lineman on that team. Andrew said these are teams that don't really need their draft picks, especially if they're picking in the late 20s for this year. So if you can essentially use that first round draft pick that's 29, 30, 31 on a Trey Hendrickson, then that's what they're going to try to do, or they're going to try and kick it down to where they're using future assets. So you're going to be hard pressed to get any player back in a Trey Hendrickson deal, let alone one that would make the fan base feel good that they won the deal at least.
And that's the thing. We talk about winning the deal. I wish the Bengals front office would quit trying to win every freaking deal. Like, let's go win a Lombardi. Quit trying to win every contract. Just go pay your damn players. That would be nice. Because I mean, you guys remember a couple years ago when they re-signed AJ Green, they did it like right before the season started, like right when he's about to get on the bus or something, or the airplane or whatever it was before. So I mean, this isn't anything new that they unfortunately wait too long. And I keep saying they did this to themselves. Like the last 2 years, right now, this moment is what the last 2 years have caused. We didn't have hit on most of our draft picks. We didn't sign T. We didn't sign Trey, or didn't sign Jamar, And now we got Trey, who we did sign, but with not signing Jamar and T, it puts them in a bad spot. It puts so much pressure on them to get it right. I'm still holding out hope, guys, that Trey doesn't get as much as he thinks he's going to, and he'll come back. But I don't know. It's very frustrating, and they're good. The thing is, I keep looking this way. They're going to have a ton of money. And that's where I'm hoping they come out and go after the free agents. I keep going back to that. That's where their mindset has to be. Because if it's not, then why the hell are you doing? Just pay Trey. You know? Yeah. That's just where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, the team doesn't get an award for having the cleanest books in the league or managing the cap the best. And there's a salary cap for a reason, because you might as well spend up to as close as you can. And we're not out here advocating for wacky contract structures with 7 void years on the end or anything. But one of the biggest frustrations we had last offseason was how much money they had left over that they didn't use. And there are people out there that understand the cap better than we do and can talk about how much money you can roll over. But when you have that money to spend, it sure as heck better be on the good players that you have. And if for whatever reason it's not, you better damn go spend that on somebody that's good on the free agent market. It's burning a hole in the pockets of the Brown and Blackburn family, and fans are getting upset about it, and rightfully so.
I mean, the thing is, if they screw this up, I've said this, if they screw this offseason up, they're going to lose money because people aren't going to go. People are going to be pissed. That's because fans know we had this Super Bowl window. And I don't like feeling this way, but with the news of Trey Hendrickson and looking at how much they got to replace, and it feels like it's slipping through our fingers. And that's what I don't like. Which it could turn around like that. It can. They could go out and they trade Trey, get a second-round pick, go and sign some really good defensive free agents, and I can feel completely different next week. But right now, what I'm looking at right now doesn't feel good. And I hate it because all this crap where everybody, the national media keeps saying, cheap and natty, the Bengals are cheap. They don't want to pay their players. Well, they don't want to pay Trey. So it's kind of hard to sit here and argue that right now. And it sucks because I was hoping to tell everybody to suck it. And I haven't been able to. Yeah, Andrew, you got something?
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to take the most hopeful lens, I guess we could continue to ride with the age thing, and that's all that's going on here with Hendrickson. They're going to get Higgins done, and they're going to take that money and spend it on a really talented younger free agent. I think that's the most hopeful I can feel right now, but I think I'm with the whole fan base when I say you just love to see this stuff get done, because if you can't sign your good players, what are we even doing here?
Right. That's the point. It's like, why are you even in this business if you get good players? And they did a great job of signing Trey Hendrickson. I mean, I remember it was Carl Lawson. I'm like, oh my goodness, we're gonna let Carl Lawson go? Like, oh, I don't know who Trey Hendrickson is. Like, well, and it turned out to be a great move. It did. So why are you're screwing it up now? So I was
in the same boat that offseason. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, most Bengals fans were. I'm like, I hope Trey Hendrickson's good. But also that was the back-to-back years where they signed a lot of good free agents. They hit on almost all the free agents in, what was it, 20 and 21, I think it was. They hit on almost all of them. So, and that's where the last couple of years they haven't. So, anyway, guys, we've been on for almost an hour. I appreciate you guys jumping on. Anything you want, any last words you guys want to put out there about the draft or anything? I know we talked a lot of free agents and stuff, and Trey Hendrickson dominated it. It was a little different show than we thought we were going to do. Anything you guys want to put out there before we get out of here?
I don't think much from me. My final comment is I just hope that they fill all the holes they need to in free agency so we can go into this draft season excited about drafting the best players and not having to fill needs. That's my only take. Hopefully we can chat in a few weeks and those holes will be filled and we can just talk about it.
Right. Now, my question to that is there enough guys in free agency that they can do that? The good enough guys out there that they can do that?
That's going to be a tough sell. At the positions they need, I don't think so. Andrew can disagree with me if he thinks otherwise, but yeah, if that money's not going to Trey Hendrickson, they better start tampering pretty darn quick because there are other players that are going to get that same amount of money.
Call people up like, hey, like, come to Cincinnati.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think they can do it. They can do it. They need to be proactive, though.
Yes. There you go, Andrew. There you go, Andrew. I like that. It's positive. That's what I'm talking about. All right, real quick, tell everybody where
I think they can do it.
Yeah, me too. Tell everybody where they find you. Go ahead, Ryan.
You can find us on X at Gridiron Grading. That's the platform we're most active on. In our bio, you can also find our website, which has all of our draft boards dating back to 2020. We've been doing this for 5 years now. Andrew just built a great tool, which is our free agency offseason tracker. So we know it's not draft season just yet, but if you still want to get a sense of who those guys are that the team could sign and instead of a Trey Hendrickson, look at that as well. But yeah, we're Gridiron Grading. And Jeff, again, thank you so much for having us on. We really love being here, and we just appreciate you sharing your time with us.
Hey, dude, I appreciate you guys coming on. And you want me? I can tweet that out. That you sent me the free agent thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's publicly available. So if you want to tweet it,
I'll tweet that out.
Yeah, that's Andrew's baby. He put that together, so it's really fun.
I've got the big board's the baby. Draft big board. This is fun though. I think it does give us an idea of like what's out there, especially if we lose some of the players that we love. I think there are options. We have grades for over 500 players on there, and built out a tab for win rates for defensive linemen, and then true pass set win rates for offensive linemen. So 2 things we think are really important for the Bengals.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we'll definitely, I'm going to reach out to you again. We'll have to definitely do this in a week or two. And hopefully it's a little better, a little more happy. We're excited about the draft coming up. Like, all right, we got all this fixed. We're just going to do BPA. It'll be great. We'll see what happens. Appreciate you, boys. Take it easy.
Thanks, Jeff.
See ya. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Go check out the guys from Gridiron Grading. They do an awesome job. I will tweet out the link out here. They sent me about the free agent board. I got a chance to glance at it. I haven't really got to look at it a whole lot. Ryan sent it to me right before the show started. But all I can hope is if they do trade Trey Hendrickson, they get at least a second-round pick for him, and they hit the draft out the freaking park. And next week, they got to go. They've got to go hot and heavy in free agency. They have to, because your defensive line is 2 rookies right now. And somebody asked in the chat if do I think they should sign Joseph Osai, or we think this? Yes, I've said that before. Problem with that is David Mulgeta is Joseph Osai's agent, and I don't think they've ever signed any of his agents, or any of his players. So I would like to sign Joseph Osai because I think he finally had a healthy season. I think he's starting to come back around to what we thought he was going to be. And right now we just see bodies. We need not just bodies. We need good bodies. And what I'm kind of hoping is, like, because people are like, have asked, how do you replace 17 sacks? You don't. You don't trade Trey Hendrickson and get a Trey Hendrickson. I mean, even like Ryan and Andrew said, even in the draft, the chances of you getting a guy coming in and being an impact and getting you 17 sacks a game, it could happen. It's not likely. What they need to do is, if you are going to trade Trey, go out and get some big name free agents, and then you got to have bodies that can get legit pressure on this guy, on the quarterback. You got to have rotations. You got to, if they trade Trey, this does, in my opinion, change their draft strategy, where you're going heavy defensive line. And so for me next week, I would look for, if they do trade Trey, I'm hoping, like I said, hope they get a second round pick at least. You add that to this draft, so they give you 7 picks. Hopefully get a second round pick and maybe a 6th round too. That'd be awesome. But you go heavy in free agency, and you got to sign 2 guards, because this kind of takes away, in my opinion, because the guard talent isn't that deep in this draft. Where I've talked about, maybe you draft a guard, if a guard drops to you at 17, that's a really good one, you might draft him there. Now, if you don't have Trey, that's out the window. You got to get a stud at 17 on that either interior or edge. You got to get another really good one at 49 and wherever hopefully the second round pick is, the extra one, which hopefully we get that. If you could replace it with 3 guys and then you get Sweat and somebody else, like the other guy that Ryan was talking about, which I can't remember his name now. If you could do that, I feel a lot better about this defense. But that's a lot to do, and you got to hit on all of it. You can't miss. That's what losing Trey Hendrickson does if they lose him. Because he's not traded yet. I mean, sounds like he's going to be. I mean, but I would say 99.9% he's out the door. But we'll see what happens. It's not what we all wanted to hear, but I'm not completely freaking out yet. I'm going to be patient and wait and see what they do, what they get for Trey, and what they do next week. I really, really hope by the end of this weekend, if they trade Trey, you get a second round pick in this year's draft. I don't want a second round pick for next year. I'll take a 6th round. I'll take a second round pick and a 6th round pick in next year. Second round pick this year, 6th round pick next year. I'll take that. But I want a high draft pick this year for him. And then you go into free agency. You sign 2 guards. You sign Sweat. You sign an interior defensive lineman. You sign maybe a cornerback. You got to get hit it big time. So we'll see what happens. Oh my goodness. I do think this Max Crosby deal screwed him, and that's where I think Trey sees the money, which I don't blame Trey. I don't blame him at all. I don't blame. Go get your money. If somebody's willing to give you the same money that Max Crosby got, go for it. The Bengals could. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how wise that would be. But again, they put themselves in this position. It's their own fault. So stay tuned. I'll be back live tomorrow at 5:30. I got John Sheeran on. We can discuss this even more. And if there's any more developing stories, if they do something at night, at nighttime, I will, if I'm awake, I will go live. So if you guys have not subscribed to my channel, please do so on YouTube, Sports Strawberry Ice. Hit the subscription button, hit the bell for the notification. As like I said, every time I go live, you'll be notified. So and this is the time of year to do it. So if something happens, like when they signed Orlando Brown 2 years ago, it was like midnight. I jumped on, and I got to be at work at 4 o'clock in the morning. But I still jumped on for a little bit to discuss it. If I'm on vacation, I've done it. When they signed Cap and Karras, I was on my phone, and I went live on my phone. So just make sure you guys hit that bell for the notification, and that'd be great. What days do I go live? Every day, Adam. Not every day, Monday through Friday. I'm live Monday through Friday at 5:30. I've been doing it this is my 7th year of doing this now. So make sure you guys subscribe, hit the subscription button. And I'm like James Rapide said he'd be on my show again. He said it live on his show. So I'm trying to get him back on. So I got John Sheeran on tomorrow, and Corey Dillon and Cap on Monday. Hopefully we got some good stuff to talk about. We'll see what happens. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. 672 people watching. That's awesome. That's cool as hell. I love that. But live stream on ZTV Online, YouTube, Facebook, X, Twitch. You can follow me on all those. Well, on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. And my Twitter thread blew up as soon as I tweeted something out about this. And you guys got to be patient with me on Twitter. I try to answer you guys back. I'm just not very good at typing or spelling. That's why I like doing this, so I can talk. But I will do my best to answer everybody back on Facebook and Twitter as soon as I can. So appreciate you guys. Subscribe, share, all that stuff. Let's get to the sponsors of the show, these great companies that promote I'm promoting for my show. I appreciate them. They are as follows. Priority Lawn and Landscaping. Like I said, it's getting towards spring. You don't want to cut that grass. You don't want to trim those bushes. You don't want to mulch the yard. You got a landscaping job that you want to get done, paper patio, retainer wall, any of that stuff. Give Priority Lawn and Landscaping a call. And do me a favor. When you call them, tell them Ice sent you, because it just kind of helps figure out who's actually going to them for me. So tell them I sent you. You can give me a call at 513-430-6114. That's 513-430-6114. And if you don't want to call them, they're on Facebook. You can message them on there. Again, Priority Lawn and Landscaping. Also, shout out to T Properties. If you guys are in the market for a rental property, a house, an apartment, condo, you got a rental property, you just don't want to manage anymore, give T Properties a shot. You can check them out at www.tpropertiesllc.com for all your rental property management needs and your rental needs. And if you need a good drink right now, like I do after the show and stressing out and worrying about what the heck the Bengals are going to do, if you live and die with the Bengals like I do, you might need a drink. I suggest go to Hail Mary, especially if you're on the west side here in Cincinnati. It's your ticket to the game right in the heart of Cheviot. Big-ass TV screen, beer specials, food trucks, free parking. It's an awesome, awesome place. Again, tell them I sent you. Hail Marys, your ticket to the game. And shout out to Meyer Windows and Doors. If you guys are in the market for windows and doors, I got them in my house. I highly recommend you get them in yours. Meyer Windows and Doors. Check them out at www.meyercincinnati.com. Now, I do have a couple actual live shows I'm going to be doing here in the next couple of months. The first one is going to be second annual Reds Opening Day podcast live at Moreland Logger House. We're going to be right outside Moreland Logger House. We did it last year. We had an awesome, awesome time. It is crowded. So when you guys get done with the parade, head on down to the Moreland House, or if you just want to hang out and enjoy the banks, come over to the Moreland Logger House. I'll be there. The boys will be joining me, Joe Farsing, Harrison the comedian, Neil Meyer, and Billy DeVoe from the Nasty Boys podcast will be joining me as well. So we'll be down there on Reds Opening Day right outside of Moreland Logger House. And we got the draft. We're just talking about see what the heck the Bengals do at 17. You can join me at MLT's Mount Lookout Tavern. Tyson Anderson, Bengals safety, will be joining me along with, again, the boys will be there. Joe Farsing. I think Neil will be there. Harrison, the comedian, will be there. We'll have the draft. Draft show starts at 7 o'clock. The draft, I think, starts at 8. So we'll be hanging out all night long doing Bengals trivia, giving away some prizes and stuff. Like I said, Tyson Anderson will be there. It's going to be a great time. So make sure you guys head on over to Mount Lookout Tavern in Mount Lookout Square. And then the next day, you can go over to my boys' draft party, the second day of the draft. They're going to be at the Fulling Warehouse Project Game Day. Now, this goes to a great cause, helps disabled veterans and just people get to the Bengals game. It's $30 per ticket. You have Fulling Midwest Best Barbecue. If you have not been out to Midwest Best, tell Tim and Nicole I sent you. Again, it's April 25th, 6 p.m. to 11. You guys can get your tickets through Venmo at Project Game Day or PayPal, projectgameday@gmail.com. So we got a lot of cool stuff coming at you here in the next couple months. Stick right here with me. I will do my best to keep you all informed as much as I can. And I try to be positive, but it's kind of hard to be positive when we're losing our best defensive player. Wait till Monday. Let's see what happens. Other than that, I'll see you guys tomorrow. John Sheeran will be on. Throw it up. As always, Who Day for life. And that's your sports, baby. See ya!
Weekday nights, the city roars. Tune in loud, turn up some more. Cincinnati show, it's time to play. Sports with strawberry ice today. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. TTV, the sports awaits. Strawberry ices on the mic, energy, it's pure delight. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Feel the crowd, it's electric now. Shouting loud, they all know how. The CTV got what we